everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I am Kelly Birmingham. This is a retrospective look back across my 27 plus year career working in the field of ABA and working with children and adults on the autism spectrum. And as always with me is my partner in crime, Jen Lucero, mom to Dylan and Ethan. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Kelly. Good morning.
Good morning. So I sit on the board of the National Council on Severe Autism, and they shared with me recently an article that came out in, I think, the Boston Globe that just came out slamming ABA services. And this parent listed their perspective on why. And I understood why that parent said what they said.
Mhm.
And basically, my summary from the article was that many times BCBAs are too often looking at like the science of ABA,
Mhm.
and they're forgetting that we're talking about human people,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
and so it made me, one of the number one things that came up in all of this was that I also keep reading about that we have done nothing to solve is sleep.
Yes.
And so I read an article, it came out in Autism Spectrum News, February 6th, and it said that sleep problem is one of the most urgent concerns for families right now in
Heck
autism.
yeah.
Right? And so listen to some of these studies. There was a 2019 study. Nearly 80% of those diagnosed with on the autism spectrum, toddlers, have disrupted sleep. And I see we have a sighting. Hi, Dylan. Dylan has joined you. Hi, Dylan.
Not today. Say hi, Kelly.
No, go.
No school today. Say hi, Kelly.
Hi, Dylan.
Got to peek tomorrow.
Listen, I'll give you the schedule in a minute, okay? We have
Did you
Easter
sleep
kids.
last night, Dylan?
Yes, you did. Did you sleep last night?
Yeah.
You did. All right,
Good.
you're downstairs. I'll be down in a minute.
A good night's sleep is so important.
See you later.
We love a Dylan sighting. Hi,
You
Dylan.
can take those. He sees gummy bears that Ethan left out. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Dylan.
Shut the door. Thank you.
I'm glad he got some sleep.
He did
Right? Look
sleep.
how happy he is.
Yes. Sorry.
It's awesome. I mean, that's it, right? That's the life
Mhm.
of a parent.
Mhm.
So 80% of these toddlers had disrupted sleep. It took them 11 minutes longer to fall asleep, which it's got to be more than that, but that's what the
11.
average was, right?
11 hours.
The length of time they slept was 23% less than children on the autism spectrum, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And it also talked about how the lack of sleep, listen to this one, can also exacerbate autism symptoms.
That
Right?
makes sense.
Duh.
Yeah.
And that children on the autism spectrum tended to be more hyperactive, more easily distracted, and less social due to their lack of sleep. So let's talk about this.
But I mean, honestly, wouldn't that be anybody?
Yeah.
Like when you just listed that, if
Yep.
you're sleep deprived, I would think that would apply to anybody, not just someone on the spectrum.
Exactly. I feel sleep deprived.
That was probably me for years.
Well, that's what I wanted to spend some time talking about. So one of the things it talked about was that other things associated with autism, they think contribute to lack of sleep. And this first one, so I'll name them all, but then this one resonated so much with me for you and Dylan.
Mhm.
One, gastrointestinal issues.
Mhm.
Then it was anxiety and sensory processing
Yep.
things, right? All like
I think
Dylan.
all, yeah, trifecta.
So I can remember, like, let's go back in time. I remember when Dylan, I don't remember how old he is. You'll remember, but he was not sleeping for like days at a time. Remember?
Yeah, when we first met. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, he never slept ever, even as a baby.
Right.
Like it's only like recently that he sleeps through the night. And I attribute that a lot of what you first said with all his GI issues, you know?
Exactly. So I feel like I'm in this like circle that goes round and round
Mm-hmm.
where lack of sleep and aggressive behaviors
Mm-hmm.
keep getting correlated with medical issues related to gastrointestinal issues.
I totally agree. When we first met you, when he was, just turned 4 and just got diagnosed, we he did, an enormous amount of testing
Yep.
for all different medical stuff. Um, and we thought for a long time we didn't know what was wrong. I remember that we actually thought, and Dr. Donnelly and everybody and Dr. Mike and you, that maybe he was having like night terrors or
Yep.
something, because he really didn't have trouble going to sleep. Like, he was like a clock of like, go to bed, but he'd try to go to bed. And sometimes he would sleep for just a tiny bit, but
Yep.
then he'd just wake up. But when he was little, he'd wake up and he'd just be like screaming,
Mm-hmm.
like bloody murder. And we thought, yeah, like, is he having nightmares, night terrors? What was happening? Then he did all these tests and he used to throw up a lot. Um, and then they thought he had acid
Yep.
reflux. And then
Yep.
we did a million things. Remember, we
Yep.
elevated his bed. I
Uh-huh.
got like 1,000 pillows, the body pillows. I bought sound machines,
Mm-hmm.
like all this stuff. I do think by elevating him, that was
Yep.
one thing that did help. But yeah, it was a constant battle. Even when he was a baby and a toddler, he never slept. If he slept, it was like 20 minutes at a time.
Yep.
And I remember being pregnant and having a newborn. It was like I literally think I didn't sleep for like years. And
Yeah.
again, I think a lot of stuff with Dylan, it's so hard, especially it was my first kid. I'm an only child. I was never even around kids. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I thought, I guess this is normal. But a lot of times with the sleep stuff and other stuff, I think sleeping in particular, like, it wasn't until I had Ethan, who was like the easiest, like, chill baby. We used to call him
Mm-hmm.
Spud, was his nickname, because he was so easy. He was like taking care of a potato, because he was just like, that kid slept like a rock. So it was like, I think it was like one of those dawning moments, like when I had another baby, that I realized, like, it made me realize like how serious that sleeping issues were with Dylan.
Yeah. So if you go and look at all the literature on this, right? I went on Autism Speaks and
Mhm.
Autism Spectrum and all the like quick tip kind of sheets. They all say the same thing. And so I'm going to go through some of them because some of them were helpful. I remember with you and Dylan.
Mhm.
And then some of them, I think we have to look at a bigger issue, right? So the first thing they talk about is having a nighttime routine.
Mhm.
Right? I personally, in my work with other children, do feel pretty strongly that having a nighttime pattern of routine is helpful, rather than I've worked with a number of families who wait for their child to fall asleep,
Mhm.
right? And then they'll pick them up and bring them to bed. I've a
Yeah.
number of families I've worked with like that. I think it's a sort of immediate solution for that family, and I
Mm.
certainly understand
Yeah.
it. But that at some point, this like pattern of routine needs to come into place so that the body the body itself gets in, just like all of us, right? We go to bed, we put on our pajamas, brush our teeth, get into bed. And I think that pattern of routine, as like a behavior analyst, helps with the desired outcome, which is sleep.
I
Would you?
agree, for sure. And especially as someone on the spectrum, because also our kids are so reliant on
Mhm.
routine in general and schedules, that it's a natural fit to like establish that into it. For Dylan, and he still does this, he loves to take baths, and he'll take like 15 baths a day if I would let him. But
Yep. Yep.
like, that's a very good calming thing for him, is like to have a warm bath, like,
Yep.
before he gets his jammies on, and then that's his part of his routine to wind down to go to bed, and that seems to help.
I know that that's actually helped a number of kids.
Mhm.
I mean, what have I worked with? Like 3,000 kids at this point,
Yeah.
I think. That strategy. But now let's talk about that with the waking. right?
Mhm.
Because the going to sleep, frankly, for families I've spent time with, it are less concerned about the falling asleep and more concerned, like for you and Dylan, with the waking
Yeah.
and the reasons kids wake up. Like the research showed us that like their bodies just wake up. They are getting less sleep. Their brain is in less REM than other children.
Mhm.
And so I know that I have the strategies listed for waking included inhibiting like the sensory environment, right? I know, lights and temperature they listed. Weighted blankets is on there. I remember when you got Dylan
Oh,
that
I got, yeah, I put on all the stops.
the big long pillow and
The
have the weighted
$1 million
blanket.
sleeping routine.
But there's not a lot out there about root strategies for the waking part. And you've
Mhm.
lived and done it. I know I can tell you what
Mhm.
I've suggested to families, but what was most successful for you when Dylan would wake up and not go back to sleep?
Um, I think one problem that I did do for a while, and then I adjusted it and got better was, if he got up, then he expected me to get up.
Yep.
He would be banging on the door and stuff. We got a lock on the door, because we didn't have a lock on our bedroom door. And then, the problem was like when he got up, I would get up, and then I noticed stuff like if he turned on lights and stuff like that, like then he was awake and like he was like wound up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of what worked, and it might sound weird, is I when I just was like, nope, I'm not getting up,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would tell him you have to keep the lights out, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. Then he seemed to wind down more, and then I would say you could watch TV for a little bit, but it has to be low. And then I would notice that he would actually watch it, but he wouldn't turn the volume on.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then so all the lights were still out. I knew I was still awake, but I could hear him down
Mm-hmm.
there. But it seemed like he would then wind down a little more and then be able to actually go back and go back to bed. He does sometimes in the middle of the night to go and take a bath or a shower and then sometimes go back to bed too. So it's gotten a million times better than it used to be, because I mean he used to be like pounding on the door, and then he used to try to do he's coming back the schedule, like he would want to know like in the middle of the night, I want to know for like the next 5 days, every day from start to finish what I'm gonna do.
Stop it.
Yeah, he's at
Hi,
12.
Dylan.
Go downstairs.
I can't know.
Okay, go ahead. See, he's gonna take a nap.
Take a nap.
That's another thing I was gonna say. I used to be really hesitant on if he wanted to take a nap during the day, thinking like, oh man, if he takes a nap, he's gonna be up all night. But I actually have found if he does do that, it actually does help him in that he does still go to bed and sleeps. So I think I got paranoid on that, but actually it's been a good thing. Like I think he knows when his body needs to rest. Or I find that if like today his schedule got changed, like sometimes like that's a defense mechanism for him of I'm gonna just relax for a little bit and take kind of like a power nap, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to that. Let's go back the waking and the bath routine.
Uh-huh.
I actually also have given that strategy to family
Mhm.
members, almost like recreating the nighttime routine again,
Yeah.
right? Because their bodies woke up. They're not waking up to piss you off.
Yeah.
Their
Well, I
body.
don't know about that, Kelly.
True.
Sometimes, baby.
Having parents like try to do like a mini recreation of the nighttime routine, like the lights are down, you can have the TV on, you can take a bath and then get back into bed.
Well, even the bath at night, we have night lights in there. He
Mhm.
doesn't turn the lights on, like it's kind of taking it in the dark. But everybody's different. but I do know when he was younger to calm his body sensory wise and just I think to help sleep, we used to add like and when he did it in the middle of the night, it helped Epsom salts
Mhm.
or like essential oils in the bath, stuff like that. I think really I think that did really help. I also had in both in the bathroom and in this room, like sensory, like the oil infusers and then the sound machines.
Mhm.
And I think it's funny because for me, I can't deal with noise to sleep. Like it drives me crazy.
Mhm.
But he loved if I were to pick myself, I'd pick like, waves or something. But he liked that white noise
Yeah.
thing and would want it blasting like next to his head.
Yep.
So it's just sometimes I think we gotta think about like what works for them because he auditory wise, he doesn't get irritated by like loud noises or anything. I actually think he prefers that. So again, taking yourself out of it and like really obviously because everybody's different, especially people, you meet one person with autism, you met one person with autism, but
Right.
it's not cookie cutter. But I think it's a lot of trial and error. But I definitely think that keeping things like dark, but even if they have to do part of that routine over to get their bodies ready to go back to sleep, I think helps.
For sure. And, there's definitely research on helping kids inhibit how their body's responding to sensory processing
Mhm,
issues. And it's actually quite common for kids I know to prefer that white noise sound
mhm,
than other sounds. Like, for instance, Bill and I are so wacky. He has to have a fan blasting in his ear. It's like that. It
mhm,
can't be white noise, but it has to be a certain fan sound, and it
mhm,
has to be right next to his ear because he has some ringing in his ear issues,
mhm,
and that will drown it out so he can sleep. And I have to have like talking words
mhm.
to fall asleep. So I
Yeah,
listen to podcasts, and I usually only get to like through the first 5 or 10 minutes, and I have to pick a boring one so it doesn't keep me
mhm.
awake.
Yeah,
But I'll listen to like news type of things so that I can, that's what makes me fall asleep. And so I think that you do that like analysis and trial and error with Dylan to know that like the routine, the warm baths, the dulling of the environment, the weighted blanket, all helped. Now, I will say there is a lot of there's not a lot, there's some research about exercise. And it's
yeah.
hard to get our kids to move their bodies, right?
No exercise. That's
Right.
Dylan's famous line, yes.
But like for all of us, if we exercise, we
Mhm,
sleep better, right?
mhm,
And that's kind of the rule of thumb, but it's hard to get these kids moving. The
mhm,
only exercise that I have consistently found, and I think you'll agree for Dylan, is swimming,
mhm.
right? That it
Yeah,
is,
he will be in the submerged in water at all times if possible.
and that's same with Melanie. We
Mhm.
can't get her to exercise or walk or do anything, but we can get her to swim,
Yep.
right? And so, but it has like, it has to be a longer period of time, and there has to be a lot of energy exerted for the swimming to tire kids on the spectrum.
Mhm.
The tiring takes longer than a neurotypical child.
The
And so,
only other thing that I can get done to do that I do think wears him out in a good way is if we go someplace that he's walking a lot. So
right.
it's almost like he's on a walk or a hike, but he doesn't like actually know that
Yep.
that's really what's happening. Like if I take him to like Irvine Park, and
Yep.
then there's preferred stuff around there, like there's a little zoo or he can
Hmm.
ride the train. But like if there's some place that I can take him
Yep.
or even like we'll go to the beach like but we're walk a long way and
Yep.
then so I'm really there to get him to move but he doesn't realize it because there's a preferred
Yep.
activity
We have to
like
do that
at
too
the
with
end of it.
Melanie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So we've got our routine. We're inhibiting sensory. We're getting some exercise. Let's go back to the nap topic. That never even occurred to me to think of it the way you described it.
Mhm.
That because a lot of times I've actually even told, I'll have to look at the research on that. I've told families try to keep them awake during the day, because that way will ensure that they might sleep that night. And I don't think that's true. I think that's like an old wives' tale.
Well, and keep in mind, like, I know Dylan will do this, so I assume others will. When I say let him take a nap, I'm talking like a power
Power
nap.
nap, yeah.
Yeah, like 20 minutes to 30 minutes,
Yeah.
or no more than an hour.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he would sleep like, as long as I would let him.
Yeah.
But I think our bodies, like, I mean, I know there's times like I can't really sleep during the day myself, but there are times, even like when I've really been working a lot, if I'm working from home or something, there's times I just lay there, lay down for like
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes, and I might not even be asleep, but then once I get up, I feel recharged. And I think it's just like the downtime for your body, and I would think your mind too, because I know Dylan's like, obviously, like, he's like a beehive, like he's like thinking things in his head and saying stuff a lot, all the time. So I think it's just, in general, letting your body unwind,
Yeah.
so I think it helps him.
I agree. That was really interesting. You said that hadn't even occurred to me. And I think I've maybe misguided some folks over that one for
Well,
sure.
and then like Dylan's funny because I'll let him do it, but he knows like something good's coming too. So like as soon as I can get him up pretty easy, because I
Yeah.
can be like, hey, get up, we're gonna go here now, or this person's coming to see you or something. And it's just like boom, he pops up and is like ready to go.
Yeah.
I thought of one more thing on the sleeping thing that helped Dylan, and this might sound weird, but he used to get up in the middle of the night too and
Mm-hmm.
be very thirsty. So I ended up having leave, and I still do, like a bottle of water, like next to his bed. And now I can, he's so loud. I can hear him sometimes in the middle of the night, and I can hear the bottle and like him drinking it,
Yeah.
but he doesn't get up. And, I know that just works for Dylan, but I wonder if that could be also a factor for like other kids or adults that have sleep issues.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. So, what we've talked about are antecedent strategies, like
Mhm.
prepare before the actual
Yeah.
sleep. Some exercise if you can, a nighttime routine that probably should involve a hot shower with some Epsom salts and lights and oils. Inhibiting the environment, weighted blankets if possible, water by the bed. And then if there is waking, right, give them some time to wake up and then try to recreate that whole routine again. And then if someone wants to nap, leave room for napping.
Mhm.
Right? I think those are great strategies. The last thing I think that, we can't solve today, but for a lot of these kids, the waking can be related to, like for Dylan, like gastrointestinal issues.
For sure.
It did seem that raising him up, propping him up when he slept did help a little bit, right? To help with the reflux. But, I think a lot of our kids need to get tested more for those kinds of things for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of times, and not just Dylan, a lot of kids that I know that are not adults, like a lot of them have underlying medical issues that took a long time to be diagnosed, that were contributing to the sleep issues.
And then the last question, tell me your perspective, because what we often get in this cycle with families as ABA providers, right? The child didn't sleep, parent didn't sleep. And so for therapy that day, everyone's kind of like, let's take it easy, right? What is your take on that?
No. Oh yeah, I mean, for me, because I work full time, I have to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think you should keep going. Obviously, if the client is like, so tired that they're doing the head bobs and like falling over, it's one thing. But I think it's important just to keep what you normally would have had planned, and whether it's like actually doing something or whatever the structure is for the session that day, I think you should move forward, because if if you make things too easy, it's just going to backfire on you. And I think a lot of our kiddos, you know,
Yeah.
I know like a lot of people in general like to take the easy way out, and I just think that's probably not the best route to go personally.
Yeah. And I think I know as a behavior analyst, there are some days, like if a child's not feeling well, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
not, no one wants to be pressed. If you're tired, you don't want to be pressed. But if your session then involves a lot of movement and activity, you can't be tired if your body's moving. So
Yeah.
I've always kind of taken that approach where it's like, okay, maybe I'm going to have a session that's more fun and is more physically engaging, right? And then I'm one, contributing to the child, maybe getting some movement exercise, and then two, you like it's an incompatible thing. You can't be asleep while you're jumping around and playing. Like you can't do both. So that's sort of always been my approach. I'm glad to hear that you sort of agree with like.
Yeah, I mean,
keep going.
honestly, if Dylan is trying to because I think Dylan, even if he's up all night, he seems to be like rally monkey, and it's like I think it's personally, sometimes with the sleep thing during the day, it's a behavior mechanism where he doesn't want to do something and is trying to escape. So I'll actually do, when we had AB at home and stuff, we used to be like, oh, okay, you look tired. Should we better go walk around the neighborhood and walk around the block? And he'd be like, oh, no exercise, and like pop up, and all of a sudden he's awake. You know what I mean? Dylan's a little weasel sometimes, But yeah, I just think, yeah, the worst thing you could do is make it too easy. Like you said, if they're not feeling well, if it's like a physical thing, or there is something that happened, or that they might be upset about, or it's always good. I've always done this with the schools, with medical, with therapies or what services. I always upfront everybody, like I had a communication log. That's a good thing to keep too, that will help you figure out the sleep thing. That we did was kept a communication log.
Good
Or just
idea.
a
Yeah.
log. We had a
Yeah.
whole sleeping log that
Yeah.
we did,
I
and
remember.
when did he go to bed, when did he get up, what happened, what did he do, did he throw up, whatever, because then you can also see the patterns. But yeah, watch out, because these kids will like definitely take the easy way out if they can. At least my kid will.
Well, I'm glad everyone's getting sleep, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. This was a fun topic. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.